Hello, my name is Abigail and welcome back to Polyglot Progress, and also Happy New Year's. It is the end of 2021 and the start of 2022, so naturally it is time to talk a little bit about my language learning plans and goals and hopes for 2022. I did just recently post a 2021 reflection video where I talked all about the things that I set out to do this past year and just kind of my general feelings about my language learning in this last year. So if you're interested in hearing more about my 2021 and the things that I did and did not do this last year, you can go ahead and check that out. But for now, let's talk a little bit about 2022. Before we get into my actual goals, one thing that I do always like to touch on in goal videos is just my kind of views and approach towards having goals in language learning. I think it's important to know where I'm coming from as I set these things, so that way it makes a little bit more sense and just kind of puts it all in perspective. I view my goals for the year as goals in the sense of things that I would ideally like to accomplish and things that I think I could reasonably accomplish. I try to make sure I have some that are definitely more of a reach. They're a little bit more difficult to achieve, but I really try to make my goals and my plans for the year things that I could accomplish. I know some people really like to set goals that are pretty much not achievable, so that way they can just push themselves to do as much as they can. I personally like to give myself things that I think really could be accomplished and seem realistic for my life, even if they are a little bit of a push. And then to continue to push myself, I just continue to kind of add goals as the year goes on. Also, as I said, I view goals as things that I want to do, I want to accomplish. So if I find that halfway through the year, I really don't want to accomplish one of my goals, maybe I really hate doing it, or it doesn't really fit into my lifestyle anymore, or I'm just interested in doing something else instead, I don't force it to happen because in my mind that's no longer a goal that I have. My goals are very fluid and very flexible, and because I'm now planning on a quarterly system as well, I use those check-ins every 3 months to really decide what I still want to work on and what I no longer want to work on, and if there's any new goals that I want to work on as well. So the things that I'm going to mention in this video are things that I currently feel like I want to do in this next year, but if midway through the year I decide that I really don't want to work on some of them, or they just don't really make sense for my life at the moment, that's totally okay. What matters to me is that I'm putting time into the things that I do care about and that I do want to accomplish. Similarly, I have a lot less concrete overall year goals this year. They're more so kind of general themes for things that I want to work on, with a few concrete goals like finishing certain books or using certain materials, etc. And I did this because I found that last year when I did my quarterly check-ins, I really ended up having a lot more of those kind of smaller, more tangible goals like finish reading this book or go through X amount of chapters of this textbook or whatever. So while I do have a few goals like that in my overall year goals, because they are things that I'm kind of stretching and reaching to do, or things that I just really want to make sure get done this year, mostly my overall year goals are going to be kind of a little bit more vague, a little bit less measurable, and a little bit more so just shifts that I want to see in my language learning for each language. And then as this year goes on and I make quarterly goals and quarterly goals updates videos, I'm sure I will have more of those smaller, more tangible, more measurable goals as well. So just starting with my general view of 2022. I set a theme for my language learning last year, which was integrated and intertwined. It was all about kind of getting language learning to be a little bit more just part of my daily life. And that happened. And I really liked the kind of idea of having a theme. But as I've thought about my 2022, I'm not really sure what my language learning theme would be. I think in general, my theme for my life for next year is like creativity and probably also consistency. And I think that in a lot of ways that also ties into my language learning. I want to keep up the consistency that I had with language learning in 2021 and be even more consistent with it throughout the whole year, since 2021 did have periods of inconsistency as I moved and had other major life changes happening. And creativity can definitely play in just kind of finding new ways to use my target languages and pushing myself with the things that I try to do in them. But the other part of that is definitely influencing my language learning goals and influencing how I'm viewing 2022 in terms of my languages is that language learning is not going to be my focus next year. And that is actually not to say that I'm going to be spending any less amount of time studying languages or using languages, but so much of 2021 for me was centered around building a really consistent language routine and really making sure that I was studying languages the way I wanted to, and really making sure that I was using languages in my life and keeping and maintaining and improving my levels in languages through doing things like reading books and watching movies and really just making them a part of my life. And I really feel like I succeeded with that, which means that this year I can put less of an emphasis and less of a focus on trying to build and keep up this routine, because now it's just a part of my lifestyle and I can just continue to live my life the way that I am and continue to have languages consistently be a part of my life as a result. And my focus this next year is going to be more so on kind of creative projects for me. I honestly really slacked with that in 2021, so in 2022 I'm really focusing on all of my creative projects. So I'm putting less of an emphasis and less of a focus on my language learning. As I said, I don't think it's going to result in me doing less in my target language. Really, it's just more of kind of a shift in the way that I'm setting my goals and the types of goals that I'm setting. So starting with my overall non-language specific goals, I started logging time using Polylogger last year, and I found that I love setting time-based goals. It really gets me out of my head with language learning. I don't feel like I'm not making progress fast enough, and I also feel like it makes me a lot more creative with the types of things that I do in that time. So in 2022, I would like to spend 600 hours studying or using or doing something in my target languages. And because there are 6 languages that I am either studying or maintaining at the moment, I would like to just split that evenly and do 100 hours in each language. 600 hours also ends up being a little bit less than 2 hours per day, though I don't always do the same amount each day, so I'm sure what it'll really work out to is like 4 hours one day and then 30 minutes another day, etc. But I think this is the perfect amount for me because I think it will really push me to do more outside of my hour of study each day. I am planning to continue doing my hour of study each day for Bulgarian, or maybe for other languages as well as kind of the year goes on. But then pushing myself to do almost an hour, or maybe some days a little bit more than an hour in addition, I think will be really good for getting myself in a consistent habit for reading or watching things or listening to things in my target languages as well. This is a totally new goal for me. I've never set a time-based goal like that before. The closest that I've gotten is doing the 40 hours, 7 days language challenge. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. I may end up finding that I absolutely hate it. I might drop it. I might reach the whole end of the year and then decide that it wasn't worth doing. But as of currently, I am very excited about it. I'm really interested to see what happens, and also really interested just to see which languages end up hitting 100, which surpass 100, which I struggle to hit 100 in. I think it's going to be a very fun experiment for 2022. My next goal is actually just one of my overall personal goals for my life, so it's not actually specific to my target languages, but I would really like to involve my target languages in it, and that is that I would like to watch a decent number of TV shows. I don't have a set number for that. Watch 50 movies and read 50 books. I lowered the movie count from 2021's 75 down to 50 just because I have found that I'm more interested in watching TV at the moment than watching films, so it should be quite a bit more manageable now, and also just allow a little bit more flexibility for me to watch things that aren't movies, since I am just a little bit more interested in that at the moment. And 50 books, it's back again. I am so determined to hit it. I am just going to keep setting it as my Goodreads goal until it happens, and I know that I could have hit it in 2021 if I'd just been more consistent with my reading. So this year, this will be the year when I hit it. It's going to happen. I do have some goals that I'll talk about soon that are target language specific for books that I want to read in those languages. I think I'm even going to make myself a little book bingo card for this year, using things like genres that I want to read in my target languages or countries that I want to read books from or things like that. I definitely really want to continue that momentum I gained this past year of having that kind of integrated and intertwined languages involved in my life thing, which definitely means reading a lot in my target languages. But more than anything, I just really want to hit the 50 book goal on Goodreads, so if I have to read quite a bit in English to do that, I'll allow it. Speaking of fun little language learning challenges, last year I set myself the goal of just doing one language challenge. I ended up participating in the 40 hours 7 days language challenge. I also did like a half of a mini immersion, and I also spent 2 weeks trying to study like Elise Vega, and I had a lot of fun doing all 3 of those. So in 2022, I definitely want to do more language challenges just to continue to kind of push myself in my language learning, keep things fun, change up the ways that I'm learning, all of those good things. So I'm trying to do a challenge in each of my target languages, so 6 challenges total. I haven't totally decided what all of them will be. I want to just be able to hear about challenges as the year goes on and then decide, oh, I'll do that in Spanish or whatever. And I also feel like I'll be less inclined to enjoy doing it if I now set out like, you will do this challenge in this language for every single language. I just feel like it'll be a little bit too set in stone and I won't have as much fun with it as if I hear about a challenge that's fun or know that I want to try a challenge and then get to pick the language that I'm most interested in doing that challenge in at the time. As I said, my goal for myself this year is going to be on creative projects and on writing. So I really, really, really want to make sure that I'm writing in my target languages. If I'm going to be writing a lot, then this is a perfect way for me to just continue to have my target languages be present in my life and have them feel like a natural part of my life. Plus, I was really, really bad with keeping up any sort of writing habit this past year in my target languages. So next year, I'm hoping to do some journal entries, I'm hoping to write some essays, and I'm hoping to even try doing some creative writing as well, both so that my languages are continuing to be a really strong part of my life, and also because I really want to build that habit to work on improving that skill in my target languages. And then 2 goals that are actually not language learning related at all, but I thought I would toss in anyway because they are language related. I would really like to self-study more linguistics stuff this upcoming year. I minored in linguistics in university, so I really did not take that many classes in it at all. So while I don't have any sort of specific measurable goals, I would just really like to this year spend a little bit of time branching out my linguistics knowledge into different types of linguistics, or just getting a deeper view into things that I did study in school. Basically, I just want to learn more about linguistics. I think linguistics is super cool, I find it super interesting. I just really have not gotten a chance to be as educated in a lot of the things as I would like to be. And the other one, which is again sort of related to that one, sort of related to language learning, and also totally different from both of them, is that one of my creative projects that I am going to be working on this next year involves me needing to make several different conlangs. And while one of my passions as a child was to create fake languages, and I have whole notebooks of scripts and dictionaries basically of words that I made up as a kid, I've never done any actual serious conlanging. So this year I would like to learn a little bit more about how to do that, and I would like to start working on those for my creative project. I think it'll be super fun as someone who studies languages, and I think it'll be super fun as someone who's interested in linguistics, and as someone who is interested in the creative project that it is for. I think it combines a whole lot of things that I really like, so I'm really excited to get to work on that this year. So kicking things off with my Bulgarian, my big thing this year is going to be working on improving my output, and to do that, I really, really need to focus on improving my vocabulary. I find writing and speaking very difficult in Bulgarian, and at this point, it is not my grammar that is holding me back, it is the lack of words that I have to express what I need to express. So my goal for 2022 is really just to end the year feeling like I can have a conversation that extends beyond just very basic questions and answers in Bulgarian. And it's a lot more of a reach, but I think it would be really cool if my language lessons could at least mostly be taught in Bulgarian as well. For all of the other languages that I work on, my language lessons are monolingual. I'm asking questions in the language, my teacher is responding to me in the language. Even if we're working out of a PowerPoint or a textbook or something like that, I am speaking the language the whole time. And in Bulgarian, I am just not at that point yet. We don't speak Bulgarian the whole time, and it's because I can't keep up for the whole hour. So that's definitely my big stretch goal for Bulgarian. And to do that, I would like to finish Intensive Bulgarian 2. I haven't actually started it yet, but I do own the book now. So I would like to get through that whole textbook. And I also would like to get through a Bulgarian B1 textbook. I found that I really do well with quite a bit of structure in my Bulgarian learning. So after I finish Intensive 2, I don't want to just drop myself in the deep end of, okay, now read some articles, read some books, watch some movies. I definitely will do those things, but I would like to have a structured course that I can continue to work on outside of the lessons with my tutor and outside of using input materials and learning on my own. But as I said, I don't just want to use structured courses, so I would like to finish watching Total Drama Island, which is one of the few shows that Netflix has dubbed in Bulgarian on US Netflix, so I guess I'm watching that now. I know technically there are like 6 spin-off shows of Total Drama Island that all have somewhat similar names, so I only want to finish Total Drama Island, or the first season of it, if that's the name for the whole series. If I watch more, great, but I only technically want to finish that first season, and then maybe I'll find another show, maybe I'll find some movies that I want to watch. And the goal that I think I'm the most excited for, I would like to read my first book in Bulgarian. In 2021, I started reading kids' news articles, and it was a very slow process, a very tedious process, but I was reading things that weren't made for textbooks, they were just made for people to read in Bulgarian for the first time ever. And it was really exciting, and I really want to push myself to the next step this next year and read a whole book. I want to push myself to read the hardest thing that I can, but if it's something at the level of like the Magic Treehouse or something like that, I will still consider that a success. The book that I keep coming back to as what I would really like to read is The Little Prince, but every copy I seem to be able to find in Bulgarian is at least $40 to $60, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I love The Little Prince. It's been a few years since I read it last. I think it would be a great book to really, really push my Bulgarian without hurting me in the process, but I'm not sure that $40 to $60 is really what I want to pay for that book, so we'll see. And the other language that I'm hoping to kind of actively study this year, French. Some of you might be pretty surprised by this. In 2021, French was a language that I was just working on maintaining. I even said that I wanted to feel like I wasn't studying French. It was just a language that I knew and I could use. But I would really like to get myself ready to take the DELF this year. I don't know if I'm actually going to take the DELF this year. In fact, I think I probably won't. But I want to stop just continuously being like, someday I want to take the DELF, and actually start preparing to take the DELF. There are a few reasons I don't think I'm going to do it this year though. The biggest one honestly just being logistics. The closest location for me to take the DELF at is about 4 hours away, and it's only offered during the work week. So if I decide to take it while I live in Austin, I will have to take time off work to travel to another city, take time off work to take the exam, and then take time off work to drive back. Plus I will have to pay for all of that travel and accommodation as well as the cost of the exam, which isn't that cheap. Plus, it's only actually offered twice a year. There are 2 dates that I can take the DELF on in the year of 2022. So whenever I do take the DELF, it's going to be quite a bit of a hassle. And this year, I just honestly don't think that it's worth it. I don't need to take the DELF right now. I'm not a language exam person, but I really would just like to have that certificate in French and know that I accomplished that. But I don't need it for a visa right now. I don't need it for work right now. I don't need it for school right now. So I kept going back and forth on whether I should even put this as my goal, but I would just like to start working on that. And the main thing there is that I need to work on my speaking. I have looked at the C2 exams past material, and I feel totally comfortable listening to the listening material and reading the reading material, and mostly comfortable writing about the reading material. I am definitely going to need to review French essay formatting because I haven't done it since college. But I feel like with a little bit of review, I could do that as well. So speaking is definitely going to be where a lot of my emphasis lies. I also really want to work on just expanding my knowledge and experience with literature and film from different Francophone countries. I definitely have had more concentrated experiences with specific countries or regions, and so I really just want to enjoy some media from countries that I really haven't watched things or listened to things or read things from. So my big goal for the year is that I want to try to do something every single day in French. Try being an important word here. If I skip one day, if I miss a day for whatever reason, that does not mean that I failed the goal. I'm going to be very flexible here, both with missing some days and also with the whole doing something. It can really be anything. If I want to listen to a podcast, great. If I want to talk to a friend in French, great. If I want to study from a DELF prep book, great. I just want to do something in or with the language every single day, have a little bit of contact with it. It definitely is a big goal, but I think it is achievable with the flexibility, so I'm hoping that I can do it, and I'm really interested to see the kinds of things that I end up doing in that little bit of contact each day. Last year, I set the goal of trying to read more books in French than in English because I really wanted to push myself to have French be my kind of default language, and I really loved the idea and the concept behind this, but it really did not work well for me. So this next year, as I try to read 50 books, I am not trying to read most of them in French, but I would like to read 12 of them in French. I did set a number goal because I really do want to make sure that I am reading more than I currently do in French. I want to really be pushing myself, which is why I set 12. I want to be reading at least one a month, but at the same time, it also allows for those 50 books to also include books in my native language and in my other target languages. I do have a pretty solid list going now of books that I would like to read in French this upcoming year. In fact, there's definitely more than 12, so I could realistically just go off of that list and never discover any new books. But as I said, I would definitely love to be reading from more countries than I have previously and different genres. So if you have any Francophone books that you've really enjoyed, I would love to hear about them. Speaking is the skill that I'm most worried about, but the thing that I actually need to do the most in order to prepare for the DELF is taking practice tests. It's no secret that I'm a very anxious person, and tests definitely bring that out in me, so I would like to really get comfortable with with the format of the exam as well as past exams, just really be able to go in knowing exactly what I'm getting into. And the other thing is I have not taken a long standardized exam that is the length of the DALF exam since probably when I took the AP exams or like the SAT in high school. And I remember for those starting to feel like halfway through the exam just so burnt out and tired and just really struggling to get through the second half of the exam because I was so tired. So I think I also just need to build up my test taking endurance. So I'd like to finish a DALF prep book this year. I don't currently own one and I'm not sure which one I would get. I still need to do some research into that, but I'm planning to get one and then I'm going to try to get through it. And I also would like to simulate at least one practice exam for myself. I think this will be really good for me to see where I'm at with the French because I can have someone correct the essay and see if I'm on the right track for that. If I'm not, I can meet with a tutor, have them kind of gauge where my speaking is at. I can see where I'm at in terms of test taking. Do I feel like I have that endurance yet? Do I feel like I burn out halfway through the essay? And I feel like because of that, it'll be a really good way for me to kind of see when I feel like I want to take the test. As I said, I don't need a DALF certificate at the moment. I know that that's what I'm striving for, but I don't have to stress myself out about it right now. I would much rather just be having fun with my French and finding that I'm using French way more than feeling like I'm ready to take a test in 6 months. Because guess what? I don't need to take a test in 6 months. I think because I post my goals on YouTube, I worry that I'm going to say that I want to take the DALF in 2022 or I'm planning to sign up for the DALF in this month or whatever, and then if I decide not to take it, it'll seem like I'm flaking out or something like that. But that is such a bad way to look at it, and I think I really need to have that mindset shift of I can commit to it and then uncommit to it. If I feel like I am still dreading it even after I've picked a month that I supposedly will take it, I can still skip basically until I've paid, and then I'm gonna force myself to do it because it's a very expensive exam. But up until that point, I can be as flaky as I want. This is for fun. I did not pick out challenges for all of my target languages, but I do have a challenge that I would specifically like to do in French this year, and that is that I would like to participate in a readathon using only Francophone books, or at least books translated into French. I've never actually participated in a readathon. I see them happening all the time because I watch a lot of booktubers, but I've never gotten a chance to partake. But I just think it sounds really fun in general. I think it'll be really fun to do in my target language. It'll be a great way to catch up if I'm behind it all with my 12-book goal. It will also help with improving my French reading speed. My French reading speed has slowed down a bit. I used to be able to read at exactly the same pace as in English, and while my comprehension hasn't gone down at all, I just read a little bit slower than in English, and it irks me. So I would really, really like to be reading at the same pace as I do in English, and I think that will really be able to kind of pick that back up again. And lastly, going along with all of the writing, I would like to write a short story or maybe a short film script, some sort of short piece in French, and I would potentially also like to edit it and find it a place in the world, but I would at least like to make something in French and have that be a thing that I have going on. Moving on to German, my overall goals are really based on the things that I feel like I currently struggle with. So I found that with input, it's vocabulary. I just don't have as many words as I seem to need to be able to understand the things that I read and that I watch without a little bit of frustration thrown in there. And when it comes to output, I've found that my problem is grammar, especially when it comes to cases. I know that whenever I speak and whenever I write, I just make a million mistakes when it comes to cases. And I found with speaking, I just sort of have a weird block. I don't even really know how to explain it. It's like I feel like I can't say anything in German, and then I start speaking and clearly I can have a conversation. But all of the moments leading up to that, I just feel like I know no German. And I don't feel this way about other languages. Like, I think I can really say less in Spanish than I can in German, but I feel more comfortable speaking Spanish than I do German. I just have this weird mental block for whatever reason. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it's been sticking around, but I'm determined to get rid of it this year. So my goals that will hopefully help me get through those struggles are, I would like to feel pretty solid, at least, about cases by the end of this year. Book-wise, I'd like to read 5 books in German this year. 3 of them I would like to be from the Percy Jackson series. I'm currently on the 2nd book. I'm almost done with it. Hopefully I'll even finish that before 2021 ends. Not sure about that, but I'm going to try. And then I have 3 books left in that series, so that will make up 3 of the 5, and then I just want to read 2 other books as well. So a pretty small and manageable goal, but the Percy Jackson books are pretty thick, and I don't know what I'm going to read for the other 2 books yet, so gives me a little bit of flexibility there. I started the Espectanoy B2 book this past year. I'm a few chapters in. I would like to finish that this next year, and I would also like to finish the C1 book. I have been loving the Espectanoy textbook so far, and I've read over some of the C1 textbook as well, so I know it's kind of the same thing. So I am really, really excited to get through those. I wasn't really using textbooks anymore for German. It really was just learning through watching things and reading things and using the language. But I have found these to be a great supplement to that and a great way for me to get a little bit more practice with certain grammar points. And I've also been using it as a time to read out loud all of the reading exercises and then kind of talk to myself as the practice answering reading comprehension questions and that sort of thing. So it's been very helpful for me to get a lot of speaking practice as well, just with myself. So I would like to do that. And then with listening stuff, I would like to finally finish Dark. I have been watching Dark for probably like a year and a half now, technically, but I was watching with my partner, so I wasn't watching on my own ever, and he wasn't wild about it, so we just weren't watching it very often. But now I'm gonna start watching it on my own, so hopefully I will be able to get through the rest of it pretty quickly. I have a lot to go. I'm still on season 1, but I do think that over the course of 2022, I can definitely finish the show. And my last German goal is also related to listening. It is also a very strange niche goal that I'm about to throw at you, and that is that I would like to listen to all 6 of the Big Finish audio plays that have been made in German. For those of you who aren't already familiar with the Big Finish, which I'm guessing is most of you, they are a company that makes audiobooks and audio plays, audio dramas featuring original cast members of cult sci-fi shows, and they're always in English with the exception of 6 remakes of Doctor Who audio plays that have been done in German, so I would like to listen to all 6 of those. I've listened to 3 of the 6 of them in English already, and will probably listen to all 6 of them in English before I listen to them in German, because I do want to get to hear the original cast reading them, but I just feel like it's a super fun and weird way to practice my German. Also, definitely a way to push my German quite a bit, because they are sci-fi, and there's going to be a lot of things that I don't know how to say in German. People will be talking fast, there will be alien spaceship noises in the background. It'll just push my German listening comprehension. So that is my last German goal. My big goal for American Sign Language is really just to build on the foundations that I started in 2021. It's not a huge goal, but that's it. That's the goal. I would like to finish taking all of the classes that Queer ASL at least currently offers. If they start adding more classes, I probably won't be able to do this just because there won't be enough cycles to actually do it. But what I have left is ASL 103, which I'm currently registered for, 104 Conversations A, 104 Conversations B, and 104 Storytelling. So my plan is to take 1 a quarter or just 1 as much as they're offered. This goal I definitely need to be flexible with myself with, and I know that because as I get to these higher levels, there's only going to probably be 1 offering at a time. And if that 1 offering coincides with when I have work or I have something else, I obviously won't be able to sign up for it. So I would really like to at least try to take all of them, but if obviously circumstances mean that I can't take all of them, that's okay. I just want to make sure that on my end, I'm at least trying to take all of them. A goal that I'm moving over from this past year is that I would really like to work on improving my finger spelling. I feel like I'm just very slow with it. So I'd really like to get myself finger spelling a lot faster and a lot more fluidly. This year, I'd really like to watch TV, movies, or other media that is either in or features American Sign Language. Again, if you have any recommendations, feel free to throw them at me. Much like in 2021, my Spanish goals are all about speaking. I feel quite comfortable speaking Spanish now, which I wouldn't say was the case going into 2021. But now I feel like the problem is that when I speak Spanish, it's just kind of choppy and awkward. I have to think of certain vocabulary words or I'm missing them, so I don't sound as fluid or as eloquent as I would like to. So those are 2 things that I really need to work on when it comes to the output part of speaking, but I also need to work on the other end of the conversation and also improve my listening. I have not really done much Spanish listening practice over the course of my learning Spanish because I just relied on it being similar to French for so long, which I know is so bad. But we've hit a point now where I can't do that anymore. So this year I really need to fix that. So I would like to keep taking lessons with my tutor probably every other week. That's when I take them now, but obviously obviously don't totally know what this whole year is going to look like, so if I have to kind of adjust that, then that's fine, but for the time being, every other week-ish. I would like to do the kind of big grammar review that I was hoping to do this past year and didn't get to, so I want to just go through all of the tenses and really work on doing some grammar exercises, work on understanding them, and more than anything, work on getting used to conjugating correctly for them. As the kind of marker for my listening comprehension, I would like to be able to listen to a podcast in Spanish by the end of this year and just comfortably understand everything, or at least be able to understand enough that if someone were to ask me listening comprehension questions based on it or want to talk to me about it, I could do that. I want to finish watching The Hockey Girls, which I'm currently watching dubbed in Spanish. And lastly, I would like to work on my pronunciation. I want to continue working on trying to roll my R's. I'm getting much closer, so maybe by the end of 2022 I can be able to do that. And just in general, I want to work on my Spanish pronunciation as a whole. And lastly, Italian. My big goals for Italian this year are just to actually maintain it, unlike last year, and to find something that I really like in Italian. I don't have to find a huge motivation, but I just want to find a musical artist I really like, or a director I really like, or a TV show I really like, or a series of books I really like. Just something that I really enjoy in Italian specifically and can kind of use to start to find out what my future goals and plans for Italian are, and can also use to get me doing things in Italian in the time being, so that way I'm not neglecting it for 12 more months. And my goals to do those things are, I would like to use Italian at least once a week. Again, a very small, very manageable goal. Even if it's like 10 minutes the whole week, that's fine. I just went so many weeks in 2021 where Italian was just non-existent in my life. It's not going to happen as soon as the year starts because I need to just kind of figure out my schedule with some other things first. But at some point this year, I would like to start taking Italian lessons. Even if it's just a conversational lesson like once a month, that's fine. Again, I just want to make sure that I'm actually using Italian. I would like to read at least one book, and I would like to watch at least one TV series or a bunch of movies, just something that I'm watching. And that's it. No other goals. So I'm keeping it very small, very manageable. I really want to keep it flexible more than anything. I want to be using Italian at least once a week, as I said, but I don't want to set too many strict goals because I want that freedom to kind of find the things that I seem to be the most interested in. So that way I can use that to kind of build my motivation with Italian and also figure out what my kind of goals and hopes for the future with the language are. A lot of you might be wondering what the deal with Japanese is. I really was planning to start learning Japanese in 2021, but ended up deciding that it was going to be more of a second half of the year thing. And when the second half of the year came, I found that I really just wanted to put more time and energy into the other 6 languages I was working on. And going into 2022, I at least currently still just want to be working on those other 6 languages. But I'm not completely writing off starting Japanese in 2022. Basically, my goal isn't to learn Japanese in 2022. I have no plans to do it, but I do potentially hope to do it. I don't know. I keep going back and forth on like, do I really just want to focus on everything else and wait until I have a ton of time to dedicate to Japanese? Or is this one of those times where I need to work on the fact that I tend to be an all or nothing kind of person, and even just doing a little bit of Japanese is still something, and it's putting me in contact with a language I love a lot. At the moment though, as I talked about in my 2021 video, I don't want to be a beginner in any language, so I don't think I'll be starting Japanese at any point soon, but I'm not totally writing it off. I think even if I feel like I won't be able to put a lot of time and effort into it, I'm still considering it, because I think previously I really felt like I had to have hours and hours and so much time and focus to dedicate to it, and I've just been realizing that I could take 4 months to learn the writing system, and that's fine. I can really just be doing it slowly and casually and just having a little bit of contact with it because I enjoy it. So it's not totally written off, but I would say no plans because I don't think it will happen in the first half of the year, and then if the second half of the year ends up being dedicated to the DALF, then probably I won't have time for Japanese. So we'll see. It makes me very sad to say that I don't have any plans to do it. I almost just want to throw it in and say I have plans, but I know that then probably it'll end up like last year. So it'll probably be a surprise to all of us when I start learning Japanese, but it will be the next language. I do know that. And as always with dabbling, I don't have any specific goals, but I would like to see myself doing some dabbling this year. I was very diligent and dedicated to the 6 languages I was studying last year, or I guess 5 languages. I really was not diligent and dedicated to Italian, but I really didn't dabble in anything else. If I was doing language stuff, I was doing it in those languages. But it was great for those languages. It was great for me who did not want to be doing beginner stuff outside of Bulgarian and American Sign Language. But I would really like to this year. I think it will be a nice tie-in to the linguistic stuff that I study this year. I think it would just be really nice to get some exposure to some new languages, and it would just be a lot of fun because I haven't dabbled in quite a while. But of course, this is not at all the priority, and it is for fun. So if I continue to not want to be a beginner, I am not going to force myself to dabble. I just want to make sure that I leave myself space to dabble, basically, and I would like to encourage myself to dabble, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen or not. So those are all of my 2022 goals, but because I am breaking the year down into quarters again, I just wanted to really quickly run through my quarter 1 goals. Quarter 1 is going to be all about just establishing the habits and routine that I need to have for the rest of the year in order to make my goals happen, both in terms of language learning and in terms of everything else, especially my creative goals. For Bulgarian, I would like to continue taking weekly lessons. I would like to start and make a good bit of progress on the Intensive 2 book. I haven't even opened it yet, so I don't know if finishing it is really a realistic goal. So for now, I would just like to make good progress on it. I would like to distill the vocabulary I still don't know from my last notebook into my new notebook because I have almost filled up a Bulgarian notebook. And I would like to keep reading articles and continue watching Total Drama Island. For French, I want to start working on that goal of doing something every single day in French. I'd like to kick off the year with a strong reading habit, so I want to make sure that I'm reading as much as I can. I want to try to finish at least 3 books. That will keep me on track to complete my 12-book goal and also hopefully just establish time set out of the day where I spend reading in French. So that way the goal continues to be manageable throughout the year. And similar to Bulgarian, I have almost finished a German notebook, so I would like to distill any grammar or any vocabulary that I'm still not sure about into a new notebook. I would like to finish the 2nd Percy Jackson book if I haven't done so by the end of this year and make it a good amount of the way into book 3. I would love to finish book 3, but it's not here yet. It's coming in the mail, I think, in late January or early February. So depending on when it shows up, that might not really be realistic, but I'd at least like to read quite a bit of it. For American Sign Language, I would like to complete the ASL 103 course that I'm currently registered for. It starts the 1st week in January, so that will take us through this quarter mostly. I would like to go back and review the material from ASL 101 and 102 just to get even more comfortable and confident with it. For Spanish, I would like to continue taking lessons every other week. I would also like to distill my notebook because I also recently wrapped up a Spanish notebook. And as I do that, I would really like to do a bit of grammar review, specifically with the past tense and the subjunctive. I really mess up conjugations there, so I really need to do a bit of a review with that. And lastly, Italian. I have a huge goal for this quarter, and that is that I would like to do literally anything in Italian. 1 thing a week, that is all I ask of myself. And I'd also like to find a TV show and watch at least an episode of it that I'm interested in watching, so that way as the year goes on, I can continue to enjoy it. So those are the things that I will be focusing on in 2022, and specifically in the 1st quarter of 2022 up until April. As always, I would love to hear the things that you are hoping to work on in 2022. Also, any book, movie, music, etc. recommendations you have for any of my target languages. I had a great year for language learning in 2021, and even though my focus is going to shift to be more on creative projects in 2022, I am feeling super excited and super confident about all of the things that I'm going to accomplish. And I honestly can't wait to get to hear all of the things that I end up accomplishing this year in my wrap-up videos at the end of each quarter and at the end of this year. I hope you all have a safe and happy new year. I will see you on Wednesday, and remember, practice makes progress.